I found Charlie, or rather Charlie found me at the mall. I was walking out of Barnes & Noble, flipping through the pages of a new book I had just bought, when I heard the commotion. It was coming from the next door over. It was the pet shop. I heard someone yelling, "Don't get near him, he bites." Curious to what was going on, I stopped in the doorway and looked inside. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. There was a crowd surrounding two people, a man and a woman, holding long poles with loops on the ends. They were trying to slip the loops over a dog's head, but the dog wasn't having it, growling and snapping at the loops. Did I say dog? I meant to say puppy. This ferocious animal that everyone in the store seemed to be so afraid of was a puppy, maybe a foot long and a foot tall. It looked like something out of a Saturday morning cartoon. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. When I did, everyone in the store turned to see who was laughing. When the puppy saw me standing in the doorway, he took off running and jumped up at me. Not knowing what to do, I grabbed him up into my arms. Everyone in the store gasped and screamed, thinking this ferocious beast was attacking me. But instead of biting me, he started whining and licking my face. I put him down on the floor, but when I did, he started jumping up and down on his hind legs, reaching up his tiny front paws at me, howling for me to pick him back up. When I did, he wrapped his front legs around my neck and made a high-pitched whining, almost crying sound as he licked my face. The store manager ran up to me. His face was flushed and he was out of breath. "Be careful with that dog. I've called for animal control. They're on their way. He seems to like you, so if you could just hold on to him until they get here, I'd really appreciate it. You're the first person he's ever let touch him." "Seriously? You called animal control for this little guy?" I asked. "What are they going to do with him?" "Well, sir, I'm convinced there's something wrong with that dog. He's crazy. They'll probably put him down." When he said that, the puppy laid his head on my shoulder and got very still. Then he lifted his head and looked me in the eyes. "Are you really a crazy dog?" I asked him, staring back into his brown eyes. He lifted his upper lip, exposing his teeth, and gave me a small growl. Then he licked my face, and I swear this is true. He gave me a smile and started wagging his tail. That was all it took. "Call animal control back and tell them not to come," I said. "I'll take him." "Are you sure?" the manager asked. "That dog has been a real problem since he arrived in this country." "What are you talking about?" "That dog is a full-blood Irish setter. His parents were both show dogs. He arrived a few weeks ago from Ireland and has been a pain in the ass since he got here. He hates everyone, snapping and biting at anyone who gets near him. Well, everyone except you." "What's his name?" "Sir Charles Radcliffe III, he said without emotion. "Sir Charles? Are you kidding?" "No, sir. That's what it says on his papers." I looked down at the puppy. "Sir Charles? Do you want me to call you Sir Charles?" He lifted his lip again and snarled. "Okay, then. How about I call you Charlie?" His tail started wagging, and he gave me that silly smile again and licked my face. Rita was a bit stunned and frowned at me when I brought him home, but Audrey screamed with delight. I was worried and not sure how he would react to Rita and Audrey. I know this sounds stupid, but on the ride home I had a long talk with him, telling him about Rita and Audrey, and I warned him that if he wasn't nice to them, he couldn't stay. When I put him down on the floor, he immediately ran up to them, smiling and wagging his tail. Although he never actually bit anyone, he came close a few times, and he made it very clear that he didn't like any of my friends and did not like to be petted. He scared the postman and the UPS guy so bad they refused to deliver to my house. So I had to get a P.O. box to get my mail and drive to the UPS office to get my packages. The only two friends Charlie accepted were Marshall and Mike O'Bannon. When he first met Marshall, he snarled and growled at him, his usual greeting. But when I told him that Marshall was my best friend and that we had grown up together, he instantly stopped growling and ran up to him, smiling, wagging his tail. Marshall's mouth flew open and stared up at me with wide eyes.
"I thought you were kidding."
"I tried to tell you," I said, grinning. "He understands everything I say." Marshall squatted down and looked him in the eyes.
Grant tells me you don't like the postman.
Charlie lifted his lip and growled.
What about the UPS guy? What's wrong with him?
Charlie snorted and barked.
Okay, one more question. What about Mike O'Bannon? We grew up with him too.
Charlie lifted his lip, exposing his teeth. Woof, woof.
Come on, Charlie. He's really a good guy. Will you give him a chance?
Charlie lowered his lip and thought for a second. Arr, arr, arr. Then he smiled and wagged his tail. Why did you ask about O'Bannon? I asked. Marshall grinned.
He's in the car. He was afraid to come in.
From that day on, Marshall, Mike O'Bannon, and Charlie have been best buddies.